Part 3 of the Indian Constitution contains total of 24 articles from Article 12 to 35. In Article 12, definition of state is given. In Article 13, definition of law is given. From Article 14 to 32, 6 types of fundamental rights have been talked about. Now we still have 3 articles left in Part 3. That is Article 33, 34 and 35. So this video is going to be about Article 33. Hello everyone, my name is Priya and I welcome you all back to my channel. So far we have seen that the Constitution of India has given us a lot of rights, like right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational right, and right to constitutional remedies. As we know, the Constitution has given these rights to everyone. But there are some categories of people whose fundamental rights can be restricted or abolished. Now, who are those people whose fundamental rights can be restricted? Why is it necessary to restrict their fundamental rights? And who can restrict their rights? Article 33 talks about these things. Let's see what is said in Article 33 of the Indian Constitution. Basically, Article 33 talks about the armed forces and their fundamental rights. It says that power of Parliament to modify the rights conferred by this part in their application, etc. Parliament may by law determine to what extent any of the rights conferred by this part shall in their application too. This means, by law, Parliament has power to modify, restrict or completely abolish the rights given in Part 3 of the Indian Constitution for some particular group of people. Now who are they? They are the members of the armed forces, the members for the maintenance of public order, persons employed in any bureau or other organization of intelligence, and persons employed in telecommunication systems for armed forces. Let us see what kind of forces or authorities comes under these categories. The first category is the members of the armed forces. Under this comes Indian Army, Indian Navy, Indian Air Force and Indian Coast Guard. Apart from these, there are some central armed police forces like AR, BSF, CISF, CRPF, ITBP, NSG, SSB, etc. The only difference between them is that these four operates under the Ministry of Defence and the rest of all these operates under the Ministry of Home Affairs. The members who are part of these forces, their fundamental rights are not like that of a normal person. Have you ever seen that there is a war on a border and any army person is taking a photo or video and putting it on social media? And if someone stops him, can he say that you are violating my freedom of speech and expression? No, he can't do that because it is matter of national security. He can't reveal what is happening at the border. So these officers do not have the right that a common citizen has. The second category after the armed forces is the members of the forces charged with the maintenance of public order. Public order means maintaining peace and controlling internal issues, problems or conflicts. And when it comes to public order, the first thing that comes to our mind is police. Apart from the police, the authorities which are responsible for maintaining public order are Railway Police, Police Commissionerates, Traffic Police, State Armed Police Forces, organizations headed by DGP, IG, SSP, DSP, etc. So the members who are part of these organizations and are responsible for maintaining public order, their fundamental rights can be modified, restricted or completely abolished by the Parliament under Article 33. If we take an example, we know that every citizen has right to protest under Article 19. So suppose a student protest is going on and a police officer is on duty there. So do you think that police officer can also become part of this protest? No, he can't do that. In such situation, his duty is to maintain public order and to control the situation. So you can see that a police officer whose duty is to maintain public order, his fundamental right is not like that of a normal citizen. Now after this, the next category talks about the fundamental rights of the persons employed in any bureau or other organization established by the state for purposes of intelligence or counterintelligence. So this category can restrict and limit the fundamental rights of the persons who are part of any bureau, intelligence or counterintelligence agencies. Under this, all these agencies comes. These are the major intelligence and investigation agencies of India. So the people who work in these organizations, their fundamental rights can be restricted or abolished like the other two categories of people by the Parliament under Article 33. Reason? You all know, national security. You all must have seen many times that when the CBI investigates a case, then what facts and evidences they have collected during the investigation, it never comes out. They tell only that much to the public or media which do not pose any threat to the national security. So they can't say here that freedom of speech and expression is their fundamental right. Apart from these three categories, the last category mentioned in Article 33 talks about the persons employed in or in connection with the telecommunication systems set up for the purposes of any force, bureau or organization referred to in clause A to C be restricted or abrogated so as to ensure the proper discharge of their duties and the maintenance of discipline among them. In this category, it is said that all those persons who are working for the telecommunication system set up for the first three categories, that is armed forces, persons responsible for maintaining public order, and persons working in any bureau or intelligence agency, their fundamental rights can also be restricted or abrogated by the Parliament under Article 33 because they are also working for the security of the country. So the same rule will apply to them as it applies to the other three categories. So these were the four categories of people whose fundamental rights can be restricted or abrogated by the Parliament under Article 33. Apart from all these, one more thing has been mentioned about the people who work in the armed forces. It is said that the members of the armed forces also covers non-combatant employees of the armed forces such as barbers, carpenters, mechanics, cooks, chowkidars, bootmakers and tailors. Non-combatant means a person who is not engaged in fighting during a war but works for the armed forces. So it is said that these people are also part of the armed forces, so their fundamental rights can also be restricted or abrogated by the Parliament like other categories of people. Now to implement this, many acts have been passed by the Parliament, like Army Act 1950, Air Force Act 1950, Armed Forces Act 1958, Armed Forces Tribunal Act 2007, BSF Act 1968, CRPF Act 1949, Coast Guard Act 1978, ITBP Force Act 1992, Navy Act 1957, Police Force Act 1966, SSB Act 2007, and many such acts have been passed. So that's all about Article 33, that is armed forces and their fundamental rights. At last, I would like to mention that whatever list I have given, like the names of the armed forces, police forces or intelligence agencies, is not complete. I have listed only the major names in it. So that's all for today's video from my side. In the next video, we will proceed with Article 34, that is martial law and fundamental rights. Till then, thank you so much for watching this video.